Yeah.
Okay, we're recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another meeting for EWBMQ. This is the Thursday, 10th of March, 2022 meeting. Just to kick things off, we meet on the land of the Aboriginal people from across Sydney. We acknowledge and pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and thank them for their deep and continuing stewardship and connection to the land, air and water. We pay respects to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people here with us today. So just an agenda for today. We're going to go through some of the stuff for Design Corner. So there's been lots of meetings outside of this one that has essentially been mainly responsible for organizing our Design Corner event, which is going to be on the 25th, 6th and 7th of March, which is later this month. That's going to be one of our biggest key flagship events that we run in semester one. And it's going to be a very big driver of extra members that are going to hop on board, as well as providing some really good engaging activities for our membership base, not just our base, but across New South Wales for all other EWB chapters as well. After that, I'm going to go through the GenCom. So our general committee hiring spree has been underway for the last couple of weeks. We've already got a whole bunch of applications that have come through. So ideally in this meeting, we want to try and review some of the applications that have come through, as well as discuss some of the applications that are currently sitting in limbo and that might need a bit of a push to make sure that we actually do get them on board. Okay, so quick status report and some very basic overview of what the Design Corner is. I'm sure Seidel and Nabia, you both already know what Design Corner is. It's a hackathon, 3 days, people design a solution to a humanitarian problem, present it in front of a panel of judges and they get prizes. That's like the very main ethos of the entire event. And in terms of what we're responsible for helping out with as part of the organizing committee, so we're responsible for project management. So we, help push the project forward. And we're also responsible for some of the marketing initiatives that are currently ongoing. We're also responsible for writing the competitor brief, which contains all of the details on the problem topics that all of our competitors and participants are going to have to read through to understand what they're actually building for, as well as touching on the finances and mentors. I'll touch on all of this later. But key thing to note is if you guys would like to participate in the event, you cannot participate if you have either read the competitor brief or are aware of the actual problem topics that are going to be sort of discussed during the event. So Seidel, you're out. You can't join. You're not allowed to.
I don't know the competitive brief. What you're talking about? I didn't even know the topic.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually don't know the topic. I was gonna ask you what was the topic.
Well, okay. Well, I can't say in this meeting because it's recorded and we don't want anyone to know.
Okay, sure.
So key thing to note, day one is on Friday, 25th of March. All of these are going to be at UTS. We decided to do it all in the one place because it's much easier for us to do the bookings. And it also means that our competitors don't have to travel from one side of campus to the other side. I'll address your question in a bit. Other things to note, it's from 5:30 till 8 p.m. on the Friday. It is from 9:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. on the Saturday. And then 9:30 till 4:30 again on the Sunday. So day one, it's just introductions, a welcome presentation, some icebreakers, and allowing them to get started on planning, as well as some dinner. And then day two, it's going to be, again, a welcome presentation, and then allowing them to brainstorm and do some prototyping and prepare for pitching their actual solutions. And of course, day three, it's them pitching it to a panel of judges, as well as an opportunity for them to actually understand who the judges are through a Q&A panel. So in all of these days, if you guys are planning to actually head to any of these days to help out, either as a mentor, which we're yet to allocate individual mentors to teams, then you will have to, essentially you can reach out to me and I'll add you into the organizing list under a master spreadsheet so that we've got a note of whoever's attending, because then that helps for later on when we have to assign mentors to individual teams. And also it's part of our COVID-19 plan requirements. So in terms of what the mentors are going to be doing, all unis, they will need to provide mentors, which is just people within their chapter, so general committees and executives, those mentors are more like, if you're familiar with like tech startups, which I am, I'll just say they're customer success managers for each team, right? So it's like if they have a question, they will ask their mentor that has been allocated to them. They'll be introduced to their mentor on the first day. And that basically just means that rather than them having to try and get attention from like any random helper in the area, or rather than them having to be bothered by multiple people asking the same questions, they just have one person they can reach out to, which makes it much easier for them. Seidel, you had a question.
Okay, yeah, I remember the question. Okay, so I have two questions right now. So the first one is regarding having the event 3 days in UTS. Don't you think we should do 1 day in Macquarie? Like that help us have a better outreach in Macquarie?
Yeah, so in terms of location, we've already booked the room, so there's no changing it. There's no going back, but I will address like why we decided on UTS. Of course, the main reason was we just don't want them to travel either way too far if they're in the city, because like Macquarie is very isolated for anyone who's in south of Sydney, and UNSW was again too far for anyone who is in the north of Sydney. So UTS is sort of in the middle. We also thought of actually trying USyd, but they had trouble with room bookings because apparently some of the rooms that they're allowed to book are very old, or they just don't have the capacity.
Okay, because what I thought was, you know, when you tell me to a student that you have to go to UTS to do that, you know, that doesn't
put
us
I
at good
understand
lights.
the dynamic, because it feels nicer if they like actually get to do something at Macquarie. Because then like it feels like it's like a Macquarie run event as well. But the interesting thing is a lot of student groups, both at UNSW and at USyd and at other unis, weirdly enough, UTS is actually like a booking place for all of those student groups as well. Like it's actually very common for student groups from other unis to do bookings at UTS just because it's so convenient. So people, I think, will be familiar with that setup. So we don't necessarily have to worry about it too much.
Okay, sure.
I feel like one solution to Saidel's question would be like our merchandise. So if we like if we have our general committee get into these events, and if we wear our merchandise, that would be a great way to like outreach Macquarie into those events. Otherwise, some people might get confused. It's like, okay, this is a UTS event, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it would be good for us to like fast track our merchandise store. I haven't included that as part of the scope of this meeting, but I know that we will want to dive into like.
Well, what we can do is after we're done with hiring the GenCom and deciding on the secretary, we can basically purchase our own hoodies again, like we did last time. That way, it helps in both ways.
And also, Nathan, another thing is that can we use the Macquarie logo?
It's a good question. I think we have to get permission first, but I feel like, I mean, technically, if we use the EWBMQ branding, it already feels distinctively Macquarie-esque.
Yeah, kind of,
kind of, but yeah, we can, I don't really want to hassle student engagement.
Okay, I understand. Yeah,
because I know that like if we want to get some merchandise out there, rather than waiting like a month or so, I'm not saying student engagement is slow.
I have a quick solution for that. We will wear the Macquarie lanyards from our Mac.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, we can just do that. Yeah,
and we're on all the marketing material, so the logo is there as well. Seidel, you had one more question, did you? You said
I had one more question, but oh, okay, the second one is about the mentoring. So can we give any technical support, like any sort of technical ones?
So we'll provide some training for our mentors. Like we'll basically give them like a very brief training session of like what you should help them out with. So we're setting a restriction, like don't provide advice in terms of how they can approach the problem, I guess. So you don't want to like give them an unfair advantage and say like, oh, you should do this. It's more like you're supporting them. But for technical stuff, like helping them out if they can't submit it, Like if they have trouble submitting a file, you can provide them with support.
Okay, what if this is something like this? Okay, when the brainstorming session starts, what if I go and tell my team, okay, you know what, start by saying what's the problem and then come up with the problem you want to solve. What if I say something like this? Is that restricted or not?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't guide them in that way. Like you can maybe provide like whatever is in the competitor brief, you can regurgitate that
Oh,
and
okay.
maybe like rephrase it if it helps
I
them.
get it
But
now.
yeah, it's like an exam, right? Like think of an exam invigilator. Like they are there to help support people taking the exam, but not like give them answers or anything like that.
I get it now. Okay.
Saidul, another thing I'd like to address is that if you go to mentoring, then you will not be able to like join with us in the planning team. So since we have only like 3 executives, last year we had like 4 or 5 people on the planning committee or like helping each other out. Now we're like in lack of manpower. So do you think you want to go to mentoring or you just want to stick with planning stuff?
I thought we're doing both, right, Nathan?
You can do both. It just depends on your capacity and your availability. I would say though, our general committee is well suited to also help out with mentoring. They just won't be involved in like the planning and stuff like that, which actually feels a little more appropriate because they won't have like deep insight on the topics and stuff and can provide pure support, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So that's actually a specific role as part of the general committee called the GenCom representatives role, which is like perfectly suited for this, who are just like, you know, event specific folks or helpers who will pop up for specific events whenever we need capacity for it. Okay, other stuff to go through. So sponsorship plans. So we're currently seeking sponsorship from Engineers Australia and Activate UTS. So we've already, I think, locked in some sponsorship from Activate UTS. Activate UTS actually does sponsorship a little bit differently. They don't provide money directly. We actually provide a materials list. We provide a materials list and then they provide a service. Exactly. So they actually go and buy it for us, which is why we're hoping to get them, Activate UTS, that is, to actually fulfill the prototyping materials, and the catering, and the catering. So the catering and prototyping materials are going to be covered by Activate UTS, whereas for things like prizes and certificates, that's going to be handled by Engineers Australia's sponsorship. So we have a couple of things that we need to communicate. I know, Seidel, you've been in contact with Regina to set up the sponsorship. In terms of what we need to communicate back, I already popped this in Discord, but just to rehash it a little bit, we need to communicate the schedule, event description, key terms of the sponsorship agreement, which is mentioning that we're going to mention EA in all of our marketing material, which we've already done so far and will continue to do. And we will also provide them with an invoice that sort of gives an overview of what materials they need to finance or what, you know, we've purchased and what we would like them to finance. Other things to mention is if they can or if they want to, so these other things are not committed, so they don't have to do them, but they can if they want to, is we invite them to send over a representative, if they have some reps from like Young Engineers Australia, to talk through what Engineers Australia is, similar to what they did for the Humanitarian Engineering Conference last year. So they can do that if they want to, but if they don't have anyone available, then we're just going to sort of talk through some slides during day one as part of the introduction, which is fine too. Another thing is, since at the moment we are having a bit of trouble reaching out to judges, if they have industry contacts and they'd like to send them through, just as like, you know, as an extra bonus, we're happy to accept any industry contacts that would also be well suited to be judges. So yeah, I think Seidel, you're basically handling that, right?
So yeah, basically I talked to Regina. I thought last night we discussed, we also discussed that we're gonna have one day of catering from Miss Australia, was it?
No, I don't think so. I think like
because I already sent a mail regarding that. Oh my gosh.
Oh really? I mean, it's not too big of a deal. We'll send through an invoice which has the exact things that we need them to pay for. We just need to have all of our treasurers come together to discuss the financing. So that's actually my next slide. So financial planning. So we haven't made much progress on financing planning or finance planning just yet. So we've set a very aggressive due date for this Sunday, the 13th of March, to try and get all of our uni's treasurers together to arrange at least some meeting before then or on that day to go through sorting up the budget for food. So that's understanding what food we're going to have on Friday night and Sunday lunch, which is the main, meals, I guess. But we'll also, again, that'll be part of the master spreadsheet. So we've got a master spreadsheet, which actually has all of the materials already listed. We just need to find where to buy materials. So as part of that discussion with all the treasurers, they all need to figure out like, okay, we can buy it from exactly here. And this is exactly who we need to contact in order to actually buy those materials. Likewise, we need to figure out how much of EA's money we're going to allocate for prizes and gifts for judges. So that's, just for the reimbursement. And there's a bunch of tasks under the tasks tab in this master spreadsheet with exactly which tasks the finance team will need to go through in order to sort of pull through the event. Other thing is a finance report is due by this Sunday, the 13th. That's just for the organizing committee. So that's just for, showing all the other unis that like, this is exactly what we've got planned for finances. I think that's mostly just fine to include in the master spreadsheet. So like just having that materials list with all the numbers and figures completely added up in a budget. And then also having all the catering and stuff like that actually booked.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you say having the material by ourselves, aren't we restricting their ideas? Like if we say that these are the only materials you can use, that puts a limitation to their ideas, right?
I wouldn't mind about it too much. So it's like if you can't find a certain material, like you can't find paddle pop sticks or something, and you only find like blue ones or something, like I don't mind too much. Because the thing is for the Activate UTS reimbursement, like we're already sending through a list of materials and they're buying it for you, which means like you don't have to worry about the financing for it. You just have to indicate that this is what we send through to Activate UTS. But it's for the stuff that we're going to buy that Engineers Australia is going to reimburse, which we do need to actually have exact items that we want to purchase, because for the prizes and certificates, those are going to be online orders, because we're getting custom made merchandise potentially, no clothing or anything, but custom made things that we can hand out as prizes, and those ideally need to be purchased online by someone. So you need to jot down exactly who's purchased this. They can reimburse them with the Engineers Australia funding. And then we also need to make sure that we keep track of like how much we need to buy and like where from, and fulfillment, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think those are the main things. I should say Nabia as treasurer, I would encourage you, I think I've added you to the inter-uni chat on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'd say just go ahead and create a Facebook Messenger group. Have you already been invited to a Facebook Messenger group?
In the inter-uni chat, but
was there a specific treasurer one?
No, but we can set one up when we do the meeting on Sunday.
Yeah, I would actually say just so that you can set up the meeting and get everyone's availability. I reckon just go ahead and like add all of the treasurers into a Facebook Messenger group, and then just like send through a message like, what's everyone's availability look like? Can I start scheduling a meeting on this date? And just any time before the Sunday works fine. And then you can sort of push to
you need to be the leader.
Yes, taking initiative, leadership skills.
Yeah, I can do it. I can do it by today. It's fine.
Awesome. Cheers, man. Other stuff. Okay, GenCom. We've got applications. One application has been approved. Yash is on board. He's now a GenCom representative. So that's all settled. I had an interview with him on Sunday. He was really lovely to talk to, and I think he'll be a really good fit. He's currently, I think, first or third year. Another person's application is already been submitted, and there's an interview scheduled for on Friday.
Who is that?
That's Henry. he scheduled an interview. I mean, he's in the chat. He can just like say what he wants to run for. He's already been part of the GenCom for a while. But yeah, anyways, Henry can come on board, it's fine. But we've also got 3 other applications which we're more interested in because, I mean, we're sure Henry's interesting, fine, but we've got other applications as well.
Yeah, new people.
New people, which is important because, you know, sustainability of the society. And they have submitted applications, some really long applications, but they haven't scheduled an interview yet, which means I'm going to have to send through a follow-up email to try and initiate that interview. Just so I can, like, it's important that we have a chat with all of these new applicants so that we can eventually, you know, understand who they are and then what their motivations are, and then, you know, ensuring they're a real person, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, they're faking it. I'm pretty sure definitely faking it.
So another thing we want to organize is once we have all our GenCom applications addressed, or at least sorted through, and our applications closed, which is, I think, this coming Friday at like 11:59 p.m. Once that closes, we want to set up an induction sort of session. So that's like an introductory meeting where we basically just go through, you know, introduce the team to one another so that they understand who their teammates are, get an overview of EWB, EWBMQ, what our values are to make sure they align, and then also giving in like a deep dive into what tools, services, and platforms we use so that we can invite them to the right services and platforms, as well as, more importantly, getting them registered as Wallaby certified members, because that's like part of our actual sort of like affiliation agreement. Other things, overview of initiatives. So we've got some things that we can already get them on top of. So for Design Corner, it would be good to get them involved as mentors, which will be like a really good kickoff for them to straight away be able to like contribute and feel like they're contributing. Another thing is trying to get them to, what do you say, organize some social events. So I think it's helpful for them to, like, you know, get the, like, organize at least like one very basic social event so that they can sort of do that more recurringly and like keep the memberships engaged or something. Like if it's something like a weekly event where they just organize a game, Minecraft Let's Play or something, that helps a lot. And last but not least, school outreach. So we've actually had a chat with the Inter-Uni team, and we're really keen to try and set up an Inter-Uni initiative on school outreach in particular, because seeing how effective our Design Corner events are as like an Inter-Uni organized event, we're really keen to try and emulate the same thing for school outreach, because right now the main unis that have like really robust school outreach programs is UNSW and UTS, and they don't communicate together all that much. But now that this year they really do want to start communicating, it would be good for both us and Western Sydney and other unis to get together and actually set up our school outreach programs and sort of start to slowly integrate them a little bit. So that main thing is sharing contacts. So for actual schools, which is, again, has been like one of the most trickiest thing to get our school outreach program up off the ground, is understanding who we can contact and then avoiding double contacts. For example, if we've got like one uni that's already presented at a given uni and provided a school outreach program at that given uni, rather than like 2 EWB chapters reaching out at the same time and having like some confusion, it's good to have like an individual contact in that school that we can rely on, as well as ensuring that we can like sort of share it and share the load so that we've got school outreaches running really consistently. Yes, I think that those are the main points. Do we have any other stuff that we need to address or questions?
I do have some stuff, but I think we can do that after we close the recording.
Okay, sure. Sus. Nice.
Sus.
Only other thing I can think of was the Akendo merch store.
With the merch store, what are the items we're planning to put on?
Hoodies are a big one, because for some reason there's a really high demand for hoodies.
Yeah, I know.
T-shirts, another really basic one we can get out of the way. I think I actually jotted it down in like a message somewhere, but I'm gonna have to dig it up. We can sort of come to it, but I think we can probably stick with hoodies and T-shirts as like the main things that people are going to want to buy. And this is going to be, the interesting thing is we want to try and make sure that it doesn't look or feel like it's it's trying to be a profitable thing, because we're a non-profit, and I understand the irony of a non-profit running a merch store that like
we are giving away free merch, so
it's for our members.
We have to make a balance, you know.
Yeah, it's for our members, so we want to try and like make it like it's not like a massive e-commerce store where we're trying to set up like a freaking clothing brand or something like that.
Yeah,
it's just for our members so that they can represent E2B proudly and send the message.
As long as we don't make profit out of it, I think it should be okay, because as
well
are we making profit out of it?
The thing is like, as part of our affiliation agreement with Macquarie University, one of the key things that they keep communicating to us is that at some point it's possible that they will try and pull like proper reliable student group funding, because they don't, I mean, Macquarie Uni doesn't have as much financing, unfortunately, and they're really pushing to make student groups self-sustaining. And having a merch store might be a path for us to become self-sustaining, so that we can finance our own events without having to rely on the university. The thing is, though, is I'm going to have a chat with Erin Wicking from E2B Australia to actually talk through how they feel about a student group chapter creating profit on things that use the E2B branding, and whether there's like some legal conflicts and stuff like that that we need to be aware of, as well as how comfortable E2B is about that sort of arrangement. Because I know they have their own merch store kind of, but they don't really they haven't got it set up as like a fulfillment on demand service. It's actually like they have a box or several boxes and inventory of merchandise that they then send off and have to buy in bulk. So the way that we're setting up our merch store is hopefully going to be slightly more environmentally friendly, because one, we get to choose who our producers are, so who we're sourcing our merchandise from and who our printers are. And ideally, we're going to have to be very careful about choosing printers that are more environmentally conscious and have some commitments to being environmentally conscious, as well as like ensuring that we've got a returns policy in place that's really reliable, and you know, all of that stuff. Yeah, sorry, what was your question, Sail?
So my question is, don't you think that would be a bit tough making profit out of it? Because if you think about it, buying one hoodie is already pretty expensive. Regarding considering the fact the quality and the printing quality is not that good.
Oh, well, okay. So in regards to printing quality, the service I'm currently using is Printly, I think. I can't remember what it was called, but it's something Printly. And the interesting thing about it is you get to choose your own sourcer. So the print bar, as in the company that did custom prints for our hoodies and our t-shirts in the past, I understand that because we did direct to garment printing, which is like, it's literally like a laser, like it's like an inkjet printer printing on t-shirts. It's very fast, but we can choose different companies entirely to actually print them for us, right? Through Printly, we can choose completely different companies.
Yeah,
or we can choose a different method of printing.
I can understand, but if you think about it, that will also be expensive, and making a profit out of it,
it really depends.
Super hard. Like, how many people are gonna buy hoodies? Considering the fact, let's say 20, 50.
Yeah, so we don't have economies of scale in this regard, right? That's the reason why people buy in bulk, because you can buy at discount. By doing it, like fulfilling it on demand, there are reseller agreements with certain companies that we can partner with. So for the print bar, for example, they actually, again, provide a discount if you become a reseller. So that is, you essentially set up your own merch store and stick with the print bar for a certain amount of time. Then you will get a discount as just by being a reseller. Because they have an incentive by, having a merch store, which, rather than, it's more likely that like you'll be able to fill on demand really quickly if it's like just there and doesn't like necessarily have big bulk orders, which is unreliable for them, because it spreads out the load for them as well. So there's bonuses to having it like buy in bulk. Like if you buy big chunks in bulk, for them, it's an increase in workload, but they get more money. But if we do fulfilling it on demand or just in time, then that means that they have a much easier workload, and that again is also beneficial for them. So it's really weird. There's like some weird math involved. I don't know the math.
Yeah. Okay, it's fine. Okay.
Look, this can be a really good marketing initiative, okay? Because
it's,
like
there's high demand for it from our members.
I know.
Since we have noticed that our people have demand for our hoodies, so we can like let them know that, okay, this design of hoodie is only limited to 100 pieces. As long as it's
we can create artificial demand as well.
Yeah,
and we can do sales if we really want to, and sell at a loss if we really don't need the profit and that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Hopefully it
Makes
will
sense.
balance up.
When are you closing the recording?
Okay, well, let's end the meeting now.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone. Feel free to let us know if you have any questions.